Welcome. This is the Wellness Playbook. My name is Jamal, and this is
Mackenzie.
Chris, aka KG.
All right. And in this episode, we will be discussing what is the Manosphere, what is masculinity, what is toxic masculinity, and all aspects of it. Please stay tuned. I hope you enjoy. Any questions, please feel free to shoot us. We'd love to have good conversations. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We're really excited to share this one. It's very good. We're talking a lot about how we interact with the manosphere as well, what we view as toxic masculinity. We're also going to define these terms for you as well too, so that you can engage with it in a healthy way and learn how to navigate through these chaotic waters. But really appreciate you for showing up. Thank you so much for being here today. Before we even get started though, how y'all doing, man? How's your week been? You know, anything on your minds?
I mean, I just did my first Spartan race yesterday.
Hey.
I am feeling it. But hey, it's all about new challenges, always trying to, test yourself in different ways. And I'm trying to do that for this year. So I'm feeling it.
That's what's up. Spartan race, if that isn't enough, Manosphere. Right? That is good. I like that, I don't think a lot of people understand sometimes the idea of masculinity is to push yourself to different limits constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something for us I feel like is very good. What about you? How you been, man?
Shoot, busy week. It's been the kids' first lesson in the water at our new center. So it's just been classes after classes after classes, having to introduce myself to new kids, figure out, what their swimming skills at. And then, I got a swim meet with my swim team kids coming up. So trying to coach them, get them in shape for that too. So it's just been a lot, but
Damn, Black Michael Phelps out here, bro.
Michael Phelps.
Nah, this is dope. But I remember when I was in college, bro, some white dude met me like, "Yo, y'all don't swim, right?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You from the Caribbean, you don't swim?" I'm like, "I can't swim, but still, you don't say that, bro."
Yeah. People don't realize swimming is a lot to do with your proximity to the water and your economic status.
Wonderful.
Learning to swim has a lot to do with economics, not race. There was a group of kids that come, so for example, we have a swim for life program. We get kids from all over Brooklyn, all over the city sometimes coming to the center to learn how to swim. A lot of the kids, no matter their race, that come from Park Slope, they already know how to swim because their parents have the money to pay for lessons. Kids coming out of Brownsville, East New York, Flatbush, Heights, they don't really know how to swim because their parents don't have the money for that. So it's an economic thing.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Appreciate you sharing that, man. For me, my week has been good. I should say. I don't know. Still figuring it out. I feel like it's over, but
So I'm like, you figuring it out? It's done.
I'm figuring out if it was a good week or not. I gotta realize
You still figure it out.
I don't know if my week's been good. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I'm being honest. My week's been shit. It was bad. It was a bad week.
Shit.
It was a bad week.
Yeah.
It was a bad week. I'm not gonna lie, but it was a good week because I got things I need to do. It's just a heavy ass week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But glad I'm here. It's gonna be fun. So now we're gonna get into our first video for our first segment, First and 10. This is from one of the content creators. His name is DOS.Discourse. It's a really good conversation about defining masculine spaces, what it looks like, and how we've come to create what is considered Manosphere now. Hope you enjoy. Let's share it right now. Ready?
Myths. Before I actually go on that, I just want to touch on something you said about young voters, and this is, I'm sure, about young black men, and I think maybe about young men in general. A thing that I think we're getting wrong is, as we're seeing some of them move their ideologies from left to right on maybe policy or their perspectives of women, or I think that we sometimes believe that their subservience and their loyalty is to the ideologies themselves. Everything we see in focus groups tells me that their loyalty is not to the ideologies. Their loyalties are to the space that those ideologies provide for them online, the community that comes. The ideologies are just payment into rooms where there's friends. And so we work to debunk the ideologies, but they don't really, once they've paid for the space, they have something more important than the ideologies. They have community. And we're bad at creating community for young men on the left. We had a very particular idea of what we did not want masculinity to look like. We talked about it a lot, but we didn't create a horizon, a destination for positive aspirational masculinity. And we left a lot of room for some of the worst actors to speak to young men about what it means to be a man. And so I think that that's been a big failing that has allowed a lot of our young men, and young black men for that matter, to kind of be enticed by some really sadistic perspectives of what masculinity is. So
that was a lot, but excellent, I think. What are y'all thoughts, man? Yeah.
I think he was right on the money, because when you look at history and you look at the mid 2010s, that was when a lot of the clashing between ideologies that we see now really started to begin. And you started to see one side using memes and galvanizing men to their side, because on the other side, a lot of men were being isolated. So now on the other side, they were using memes to pull in men. They were using a lot of things, and they were basically somewhat scaring men into a way to be like, they're trying to take away this from you as a man. They're trying to take away this from you as a man. They don't like men, this, that, and the third. And now they're using this to pull men in. And a lot of very early on, it was like spaces like Discord, Reddit, and all these other places that were pulling in men into these like very toxic masculine places. And now we are where we are now, just from that clash at that point in time and allowing these people to speak to young men. And then it got worse during COVID, because everybody's
Isolation.
home. Nobody's socializing with each other. Nobody's actually talking and understanding what the real world's actually like. And the world actually was on the computer screen.
So when I was working in education, right, for a little bit, especially like right after the pandemic, there was something we used to call, and we used to have to work with kids, was called learning loss gap. Because for those year or so, they had no social contact. They lost a lot of social cues, discipline, interactions with students and everyone in terms of the classroom. And it was a very, usually when someone, unless they have a neurodivergence, you can't really spot on look at a child and tell, but you can tell these kids had a gap. They lost learning. And so I saw that happen too, like you were saying just now, spot on with people. Like they talk about it, like most folks cannot even engage with the other sex anymore at all. So it's well said. And there's a few terms in there we're gonna have to break down as well too. We jump to. Just so we also say, this is a judgment-free zone. These conversations are meant to engage around different aspects that we might not know, we might not learn. If you feel like we might misidentify or misinterpret a term, please let us know. We try to correct that next week. But in general, we're going to get to these terms just now. What is a manosphere? What is toxic masculinity? What is masculinity as well too? What about your thoughts on this video?
I honestly, because it's so crazy, because I'm happy that the conversations is coming back to the root of things and not the cause of things, because it gets really annoying, because everybody is so easy to identify problems.
Yeah.
The easiest thing is to look and say, this is what it is because of this. The hardest thing to do is always, how can you fix it? Yes. Where did this come from? Where did it start? Because you'll notice, why don't you study history? So you don't repeat yourself over and over.
Yes.
If you ain't paying attention to the world, you're seeing shit happening right now.
Yeah.
And like, everybody has certain principles, but they don't translate those principles to different aspects of their lives, right? You know how to be a good person to your friend, but then you don't know how to be a good person to a stranger. And so like a lot of this conversation, if you listen to him, he didn't bash anything. Yeah. He didn't bash anyone. He didn't say anything about this is wrong, this is right. He said this is the cause based off of how we ended up getting here.
But he did lay accountability to one aspect of society, and I love that.
Of course.
He said, on the left, we are very good at stating what masculinity should not look like, but we have never defined it. And I love that. We also are not good at creating spaces for men to be masculine.
Of course.
And I think it's a very healthy way of saying a lot of the I think what's missing in a lot of manosphere spaces is eloquence in expressing their rage.
That's what I go to.
Everything he said is a lot of the rage, the loneliness and epidemic with a lot of men that can't fully say this. And he said it well. And I hope a large part of this conversation as well that we have today starts the relationship of rebuilding the connection we've lost within our communities. Specifically, I think also the Black community, it's a different aspect of engagement, because I feel like as a Black man, being held accountable for masculinity when you have no agency of changing that structure systemically is kind of frustrating. Like, I don't have a lot of agency in my community. I don't have a lot of agency in my life. I don't have a lot of agency in politics, but I'm responsible for creating a cis male world that also damages me completely. So I have a big stake in destroying it. I have a big stake in correcting healthy behavior. I have a big stake in creating and fixing this world, because it's harmful. You know what I'm saying? I see what it does to young kids. I see what it does to me. I see what it does to my friends. Like, we just watched a football player kill himself 2 weeks ago. Like, I remember watching Rondale Moore. I watched the video with him be destroyed because he dropped the ball, bro. And I don't think people understand sometimes, like, you can look like you have it together, but some people can be going through the worst effects. And when we're talking about the manosphere, when we're talking about male loneliness, this is the kind of things we're talking about, loss of life. And it's important. So this brings us to our next section or segment, First and 10, where we're going to define now, what is the manosphere? What do you think the manosphere is? What is the manosphere? How would you define it to yourself?
So for me, I could give you the 3 definitions. I could give you on the surface, what the people in it say, and what it actually is. So on the surface, what it's supposed to be was like trying to bring men back to their old primal form. Which, if we're gonna be honest, that's not the way how shit is supposed to go. You're not supposed to go back, you're supposed to go forward. Things are supposed to evolve and change. So to try and bring men back to a certain way is not it. Because, like, yeah, there was certain things that men would get done. They would build shit, but at the same time, the niggas would build something and then go home and beat their wife.
Yo, I don't want to laugh at that, bro. What the hell?
I mean, it's
I wasn't expecting that.
Yo, but no, like, because that's what pissed me off. But then the people who were in it, they would use certain terms and words. Like, they took over masculinity. They took over TikTok with editing culture. Even now, you're seeing the manosphere evolve into something different, but it was just a way to, like, teach men, oh, this is how you get money, this is how you get women, this is how you get that, this is how you get this, that, and the third. And it was just like they were using language to basically be like, oh, we're trying to help men because there's not that much spaces to help them. Then what it actually was just a cesspool of just lonely men who had nowhere else to turn to, and turn to this space where then they are being quote unquote coached by these other successful men who were instead taking advantage of them. They were using these communities of lonely men to not only shield themselves from scrutiny and criticism, but also to post clips of themselves, go viral, and get more money out of them. So
it's interesting to say, because, like, I watched some of these videos, and, like, I remember when we were doing the research for this topic together, is when I first came across a lot of these people and their influence. Because, like, I watch it and I cannot honestly say how people look at this and listen to all that. I can't. I told you, I remember watching a few clips of Fresh and Fit, like, in 2020, but before it even got outrageous, and they were just wild, like, wild. It was wild. The things they said was just ridiculous. I remember even one time I got into a little back and forth with them because they misdefined the term. I'm like, hey, that's not the definition of that term. Like, you're kind of misusing it. They started yelling at me in the comments, bro. They went off of me. I said, yo, I was like, goodbye. Y'all are ridiculous people. And I think for me, I had a bit of an ignorance of, like, how to interact with what I consider, what you consider the manosphere. Like, and that's why, like, when you say that they took advantage of you, like, I was very hard to me, like, if I'm being honest, to see how that happened. And
they managed to do it.
Yeah.
They managed to do it.
What about you? How would you define it?
Well, put it in a little different term. This is not going to be a technical. This is going to be a real life, real in-person term. These are a bunch of lame ass dudes that did not get play growing up, that found a lane to make money, and they took advantage of it. They went home, they got good grades, they found out how to do different stuff. No, they found out how to do different stuff. They were never able to talk to women. Some of them still don't even know how to talk to women.
Which is
They giving
crazy.
you help on how to do it, and they can't even do it. They can't keep a woman. They always are in some situation, but you never see them with women. You never see them with the success, and then sometimes when they come out, the success is not real. So it's a sheet, it's a cover. It's supposed to be self-help, self-development. It's supposed to be, but they use a lot of keywords and a lot of phrases that sound good, like go to gym, work on personal skills, all of these things. Yes, these are things you need, but the message coming from them is not necessarily going through the right way. But that was my Brooklyn way of explaining it.
You know, it's funny you say they use a lot of key terms, because like, I love stoicism, bro. Like, you know, and I've never, for me, stoicism centers around community, altruism, doing good. One of the key phrases Mark Aurelius uses in stoicism is, what is not good for the bee is not good for the hive. For some reason, stoicism became ultra red pill. All I see is a bunch of red pill, right when people love stoicism. Like, they follow one of these guys that kind of like made it more accessible. His name is Ryan Holiday. And he posts stoicism all the time. And Ryan Holiday finally spoke up against something that's happening to a group of people. They all went off on him. And I had to go back and say, hey man, yo, the guy who created stoicism talks about the wellness for everyone. How are you just using this to denigrate other people? I just don't understand how they can corrupt certain ideas. But we corrupted Christianity as well too. We corrupted democracy. We corrupted everything. So this also brings us to what is the corruption of masculinity and how we can define it. So, as defined by the Webster Dictionary, the manosphere is considered an echo chamber of where people come together, are mostly meant to discuss male topics, male loneliness, and a lot of the different toxic elements we discussed just now. But I think before we even get to the manosphere, we should define first, what is masculinity? So that's defined by the definition. Masculinity is the traits, behaviors, and expectations society connects to being a man. It's not fixed, it shifts across cultures and generation. Its core is neutral. The question isn't what is masculinity, it's what version of masculinity you interact with. So this can then tell us what is toxic masculinity. So toxic masculinity now is specifically a pattern of masculinity or pattern of masculine behavior, but not masculinity itself, where cultural pressures make men become harmful towards expression of emotions, creates emotional suppression, aggression, dominance, and the meaning of anything perceived as feminine. The word toxic refers to the harm it causes to men themselves who are discouraged from seeking help or showing vulnerability, and to those men around them as well. There's nothing wrong, as they said, in the term of frequently understood masculinity, but it's how we define and interact with it. How y'all feel about that?
You want to go first, or you want me to go?
I mean, whatever.
As far as like a definition for toxic masculinity, that like hit the nail on the head. Like, usually when people define it, like you don't hear a definition where they hit the nail on the head like that.
So it's a sociological definition, not just a technical definition.
Because it made the point like, yo, like toxic masculinity may not just harm others, it harms the men themselves. And you see it with toxic masculinity now, because with toxic masculinity now, like it's harming the men themselves, because now they're being more lonely. Women don't want to talk to them. Even other men don't want to interact with them. It's getting harder for toxic men to get jobs. It's harming them.
It's always been hard for toxic men.
Yeah, it's always been hard for them. But that's the point, though. It harms them.
From both of y'all, though, even for the question I should have, because like this segment is a bit long. When you hear these terms, and I love that you said, yo, I love that it's defined holistically, right? Do you think then in spaces, not just in manosphere spaces, but all spaces online, do you feel like we're overusing these terms, we're misdefining them, or are we interacting them in an incorrect way that causes a lot of more misunderstanding?
As first, like going back to the first thing too, with like, I like that in toxic masculinity, in the definition, it talked about the harm in the person itself before anyone else.
Suicidal.
Because when we talk about males' mental health and physical health and all this stuff, you always talk about how you have to get right with yourself before you get right with other people. And think about in the word toxic and what is it? right? It's you being infected and then affecting people around you, right? You go into different spaces and passing along to other people around you. And so when you're talking about over labeling a lot of these terms, you got to remember too, like if you left the space, we talk about it all the time where, oh, everyone's quick to say, oh, that's toxic, that's toxic. They're saying that because of how they feel, right? And they're not putting into effect what that other person is, because two people could do the same thing, but just because one person looks good and the other person doesn't, one is toxic. Two people could do the same thing at different periods of times, and one is labeled as toxic, one isn't, right? And I think it's your intent into how you live your life, your principle, your morals, you know, that always stays the same regardless. We talk about it, people knew slavery was bad, it was legal. So just because something is legal doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. So that's how masculinity always translates throughout time. And we talk about, instead of going backwards, we have to go forward because it's always going to evolve. But if you're at your root a good person, that is the core root of being a masculine man.
Well said. I don't know what else to add to that. I'm not gonna okay, that's the good question. I had the question. I was like, yo. Yeah, because I'm like, I really want to get to the root of it, but like that's well expressed, because I feel like you cannot fix a thing, you cannot help a thing, you cannot change a thing if you do not first define what it is, and you don't interact with it well. I think this over labeling, this over pursuit of trying to nail what it is down without first defining it is destructive. And I always say this is like, you cannot want more sensitive men, but create an insensitive environment. The key term in this set, it says vulnerability. And I see a lot of conversations, especially when they describe and they talk about men in such an insensitive manner. Even some of it would be considered, if the recipient or the person giving these discussions or these phrases that were yelled at men sometimes were men, it would be considered downright derogatory, cruel. But because you feel like you're saying it to men sometimes, you can be insensitive. And I don't understand how, if you want me to be sensitive, you're going to be insensitive towards me. You don't want, if you want more vulnerable men, you create more vulnerable environments. You create environments for them to be safe as well too. And that starts with us, but it also starts with everyone. I think what I see a lot of these conversations is a lack of kindness, a lack of respect, and a lack of care. Like, I see people saying, why should I care about the loneliness epidemic? Why should I care about male mental health and suicide? And it's a little hurtful, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I knew people who died. I knew people who died.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just sad to watch, you know, regardless of how Nick Fuentes or this other dickhead acts. Like, these young boys are missing something and they need something. And if we don't look at that as an epidemic and try to treat it the way we would treat any cancer, any disease, like you're not cruel to a cancer patient. You're not. You're not cruel to someone going through mental health crisis in the street. Why are you cruel to a bunch of people that you don't know? And so I hope from this we can all say, let's start with kindness, let's lead with love. Hopefully we aren't misunderstood this conversation. It's a very touchy topic, but we're engaging in this way that we know best, and from what we've learned. If you feel like you can add something to this conversation, please share with us. We'd love to. And we can try to touch on it next week.
Hey, yo.
We're kind of touching this topic again next week. But now we're going to get into our next segment. Third down. We just hand off the pass. Not the pass. We just hand off the ball.
Hand off the pass.
I played offensive line. I wasn't a skilled player. I am a skilled player, but I wasn't a skilled player.
We can tell by the way you throw football.
All right, welcome back. Now we're starting with third down, where we'll tie this into our lives personally and the impact this could have on us for men as a whole. So we'll rush on into it like Lamar Jackson.
So Lamar can pass, bro. He's a passer now. Yeah.
But then he needs to learn how to slide, bro. I'm sorry.
Now let's talk about the moment growing up where you basically got this message, whether it was explicit or silent. And what about this message scarred you relating to men? Did it serve you or did it scar you? Relating to men, like what message was it?
About how to be a man, you mean? Like,
yeah, how to be a man. Masculinity itself as a whole. Like, what message did you get about that growing up?
shit, my granddad, bro. My granddad, I always describe him as what's called a brutal patriarch. Like, the dude was like 6'6", 340 pounds. Was a prison guard. So he had like 7 families.
Seven families.
So, he had like 20 kids. He had 7 families. Like, he used to bring one of his families to my grandma's house so she couldn't do shit about it. Like, one day I remember, like, I despised this man. Like, I was just giving him tea. I was like 10 years old. Spilled the shit, like, I'm terrified of this nigga, bro. Spilled it. Bang! Big ass hands, bro. Slapped me straight up. Like, ginormous ass fucking dude, bro. Like, look, I'm massive. Everyone thinks I look like him. They say, like, you look just like your granddad. I hate when they call me. His name is James. Like, ginormous. But, like, for me, he, like, whenever I hear, like, I see samurais a lot and hear them talk, like, that was my granddad. He used to always say chap. He's from Guyana. But he was like, he has a lot of gusto when he talks. Like, that's how he is all the time. Just like, that's how I knew masculinity as a kid. I hated it. Like, my uncles though, like, my uncle was like a teacher. He was a leader. He took to the family, like, well, like a lot of people I had growing up, like, I had really good male figures except my granddad. Except my granddad. I looked up to everyone though. They raised me. They taught me everything I knew. Like, one of them always talked about, as a man, it's always important to be clean, dress well, be respectful, treat women kind. That was one of my teachers. I will never forget that guy. Never forget it. All the male figures that led really well for me in my life, I always remember them. The ones that are bad, I do my best not to be like them. My granddad is one of them. Like, as much as like I love samurai culture, and like I saw it in him a lot because he was such like a masculine man. He was fucking outrageous person. Ginormous dude, like 6'6", bro. Bang! Don't spill my tea. Bad British dude.
That's a pimp named Slickback slap right there.
Yeah, big ass hands, bro.
I could say for me, especially like obviously growing up in our household, and you know this stuff, I didn't really have any real figures, and in the beginning, I can say it scarred me. But what I can say is, as I'm unpacking it now, it's helping me, right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn by mistakes a lot of times because I never had someone to tell me, this is the path you should take. This is how it should look. This is how you got to do this. I learned by failing. that was literally like but then you learn as an adult that you have to fail in order to grow and become successful.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I would get angry about it. And like, so for me, like in school, I got into a lot of fights. I got into a lot of fights in school.
Yeah, I know this dude in football.
Yo, how many times I quit the football team? I was like, yo, I'm not dealing with this. Like, I walked out of school. I did some stuff, but
Christian is known for taking his pads off and throwing
I'm leaving. Yo, I'm done with this. I'm not dealing with this. As a kid, I'm like, man, I'm mad. But when I look back at that, I'm like, nah, I should have done that. Yeah.
It's like the thing is, you would probably be quietest person in the team.
Yeah.
So when we saw you got mad, we knew it wasn't your fault.
Yeah. I was build up.
We knew it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
We knew it wasn't your fault. You were also a wide receiver with a block with a lineman, bro.
Unnecessarily every play, bro. So like that's how I look at it now too, is because like I had to learn by not having any male figures. We had the closest one was Dwayne, and that was like, he showed a lot about family and like how importance of that. And that was very good to see. And other than that, like I said, a lot of like failures and like learning, taking your bumps and like being able to learn and like, what do I get out of this?
Yeah, I would say to add on top of that, because I've had the same or similar upbringing as Christian.
Yeah, relatives.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Y'all are relatives.
I would say, like, honest to God, like, Christian walked so I could run. Like, my example of masculinity was Christian. Because, like, Christian and I are nearly 10 years apart in age. So, a lot of the things that I did early on, I did modeling after Christian, even when I was a baby, before I even had a memory. So, like, I did a lot of things imitating Christian. I swear.
Is that a lot? Do you feel like that was a lot of pressure for you, or did you notice it?
Oh yeah.
Or
No. Yeah, and that's a good thing you mentioned that, because that's what it goes back to. We talk about it like a lot too, in households where there's not a lot of male figures. The boy becomes the man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he has to take up a lot of responsibilities that a male does, or a man does, instead of a kid. And like you feel a lot of like eggshells and resistance and a lot of stuff that goes on unpacking that situation.
So this brings me to a question for both of you, because I was going to get a second part of that question.
Mm-hmm.
So because you feel like you're modeling masculinity after him, do you feel like that might have suppressed your actual vulnerability or identity of who you think you should be or what you can be? And do you feel like taking on an extra role also makes you not fulfill yourself holistically or what you might want to be, because you had to take on an extra role of like leadership before you needed to actually be a person, be a boy, and enjoy your life and fail even more?
I would say, like, to answer that question, it varies by example, and I personally believe I had a good example in him.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
I personally believe so, and it didn't suppress a lot, because by the time I came into the picture, he wasn't as quiet in the household. If that makes any sense. By the time like I came into the picture, he wasn't that quiet. And you had me, him, Anthony, and like we will play fight, hop on the game. Like he wasn't that quiet by the time I came into the picture. And that was also thanks to my mom. Like my mom made a huge impact in our family. Because in a lot of Black households, a lot of young Black men are told to be quiet, they're told not to be vulnerable. But what my mom did instead was try to make a vulnerable environment. It may not have been the best, but she tried, and I credit her for that.
Shit, your mom almost beat me up one day, bro. You got my son.
But I think that's a very important conversation there too, where you go into about like the progression in like generations, right? Just because something is bad or wrong now doesn't mean that it can't be, or cannot or can't be fixed, right? We can progress to different things in life. Like we talk about it here. We didn't have any male figures, but now look at our generation now. We talked about it already. You got Anthony, you got you, you got me. We have like a good crux so that the next generation is going to be good. They're going to be solid regardless. So I think that's another part of masculinity, is like understanding your environment and situation and see how I can impact the next generation, right? And how can I impact and change the course of my community, right? And like doing a lot of the right things. You don't understand, like we talked about it. We was looking at this video recently with Devel where he talked about, I'm gonna pay for these guys' boots. Yeah. And he's like, somebody else was like, I'll step up and do that. And you don't realize exactly when you do something good, someone's watching you, and it might impact your actions that you don't even realize. So I think that's very important as well.
That's what's created by negative action. I think you need to have more positive action too.
Mm-hmm. And they have to see, I think they have to see people get rewarded for their positive. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, pause. He said pause. He said pause. Technical foul.
Now on to our next question. The mental health crisis among men is real. Like it is really bad nowadays. You see a lot with isolation, suicide rates, the way how they talk to other people, men, women, their emotional illiteracy, them being prone to anger and rage, and especially it being accelerated by COVID. How does the Manosphere respond to that, and how does it make it worse? Because I mean, like I said, you saw it accelerated with COVID and with the rise of the Manosphere.
And it literally, the guy said in the video, it creates a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
It gave them a place, it gave them a community. Even if, and then as he said, they're not loyal, and you could see it because their philosophy has changed so much. They have none.
Yes.
They're very, what we call vicarious. They just live through different identities. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the Manosphere gives them, a place to be. So if you, someone on the side, if you don't define your brand will define you, and that's what happens to masculinity. Mm-hmm. And I think ownership needs to come from men taking back, and I think a lot of people are doing that. And it's going to help mental health. It is going to help a lot. I think once you no one can advance in life if there is not believed to have dignity. His name was John Rawls, a philosopher that this one he was talking about before in sociology. Whenever he talked about this act of the Holocaust, he says, in any work you do, the people you work with have to believe there's dignity in what they do, dignity in their identity, dignity in their beliefs, no matter if it's different. And that's why I said you have to start engaging in conversation, even people of opposite rhetoric, kindness. I know it's difficult to some of the conversations a while. Some of the things all of the Manosphere men are excessively racist. Incredible.
And sexist.
Excessively racist.
And sexist. Racist and sexist.
Yes, and sexist. You expect that from toxic masculinity. It's misogynistic.
Right.
We're supposed to define that term. Misogyny is not just bias. It's a superiority of your gender.
Right.
It's also intellectually believing that women are unparty. That is the definition of the Manosphere right now. And I think it's responsibly us as men to be aware of it and to rechange and reclaim. I don't like them because they are giving me a bad name. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I don't like you. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't like what you're doing to other young men. It's disgusting.
That's it. That's the part that I really want to see. I was about to say a pause. Let me see. See, I caught myself. I want to touch on it. Like, whoa, no, I don't. Time out. That is a flagrant foul. That's the part that I really don't like is when good people are affected by what's going on in this toxic masculinity and this environment. And we talk about it a lot when you're being good and people try to take advantage of you, or you're being good and people just are, because of their past experience with people that look like you, or their experience with men in general, they overlabel your actions. And I think that doesn't give a lot of people opportunity to grow. It doesn't give opportunity for people to experience or reach or try different things because you are worried about your actions being labeled as something. And then now you have to think about what you can do, what is right, what is wrong. And we talk about, they found that gap, they found the community because everyone wants a community. Whether it's at home on an online streaming game or something like that, and like we talk about here, or we talk about a gang, a Crip, Blood, folk, whatever, we can talk about it. People want a community. And they found that space, and they found a place, especially with people being angry, right? And then you look at these people and they talk, you always hear how they talk. You listen to Andrew Tate talk, it's always anger. It's never compassion. It's never, he's half.
He's half black.
Yeah. Wow. Look at how many of them are black too.
That's what.
Think about it.
This too, the Manosphere, right? I watched another video. It said half of the Manosphere is far right, but half of them are people of color.
Yeah. They're both of them from Fresh and Fit. Both of them.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's Caribbean. I'm like,
he's Caribbean?
The Bayesian guy. He has a thick accent. Caribbean. Yes, the black one. Yes. Yeah.
Coconuts in my bitch.
Yo, I'm like, you Caribbean, bro. Like, what are you doing? But yeah.
There's this thing, when you work in equity and you teach like certain topics, there's this thing you always work with people, especially people from different identities work in your group. It's called stereotype threat. So if you work with someone who, say you're a cis man working in the LGBT community, what is your stereotype threat? You're going to always be concerned that people might perceive you as.
Wait, you accent?
It could be that you might be gay, or it could be also that they might see you as homophobic.
Yeah.
So you,
especially as a black man, to overcorrect that so they don't do that.
You're not actually being yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the harm of trying so hard to label and mislabel people is. You're creating a misidentity of distance between people. And then that gap is what causes them to fall into different places. So when I work with people, it's like, hey, I want you to be candid no matter what you think. Ask that stupid racist question you want. Ask it. And I'm not going to judge you, but I'll be like, hey, no, this is something you might have to develop a little bit more. But something you always have to be conscious when you communicate with people is, what is their baseline of working off of when they engage with you? So I love that you said that. This labeling is very dangerous.
All right, welcome back.
now we would begin the halftime, where we'll be basically reacting to many different clips from men of the Manosphere and basically giving our reaction to their horrendous takes.
Women are so ridiculous as people.
One of the biggest mistakes we made was letting women have rights.
Women usher in all of the bad things that happened in society forever.
Now, what is this content selling men on? An identity, a scapegoat, or a solution? With any, like,
Why are you making that face? What's going?
It's making him seethe, like,
That's what I'm like.
rage.
I think
What is this? I don't even know because I'm watching this video. I can't watch it and look at them and go, yo, I want to listen more of this shit.
yeah.
I don't know. I can't figure it out.
But you gotta think about it though. If you are a guy that is, I'm not labeling this, but I just want you to paint this picture. Let's say you're an overweight guy, you're unattractive, you don't make money, and you don't know how to talk to women. Would that content now make you feel like, oh, he's right, and wait, maybe it is women, it's not me? Think about it. It's not me. It's a scapegoat, right? That is a scapegoat.
A lot of those categories.
Uh-huh.
And I still couldn't.
That's you.
I know.
And that's what you got to remember. It's different people that end up in these environments, and it's just once you encounter a problem, you have directions to go from it. And what direction you go ends up being based off of who are around you. Because we talk about this. We went to school in Alfred, right? So we went to school in a primarily white school. It was like 90% white, right? And we talk about like a lot of stuff with racism and things like that. And it's like, if we took those people and we had them grow up in the hood, would those same people have a lot of these mindsets and these same rhetoric and thought process? So when I sit there and see that, I'm like, what was their upbringing up until that point? Then once they heard this video, like what content and how did their life get impacted that pushed them down into this path going forward? So that's how I'm looking at it. Not all of them, obviously, and I'm not saying everybody's right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, how did these people end up getting here? Because if you look at this clip, a 5-year-old will be like, this sounds stupid. Yeah, what is this? What is this? You know, so I'm trying to think of like, how did they get there? I don't know. It's just like, let's say you're a lineman, right? And your quarterback gets sacked in 1 second and you're like blocking. You're like, how the hell you get sacked in 1 second? Well, because you got someone like Bradley Bozeman as your center. So let me stop. I don't know. I'm sorry. I had to. I was done. I had to.
I hate that it's happening.
Yeah, it's true.
To close it out, I would just say it does all of that and just makes it worse. Obviously, first, their scapegoat is women. When the wild part about it, and like the one thing that pisses me off that they failed to answer, and I think the only red pill guy who used to say it, was that men built the world we live in. Men built this society that's so competitive that we now have this hierarchical system of men where you got the sad and lonely men, you know, the poor men at the bottom and the rich men at the top. And we created this framework, this society that they're complaining about was created by us. A majority of wars were started by us. We have power. But I'm saying we started a majority of them. I have a choice. I'm joking. Bro. But we started a majority of wars throughout recorded history. We have held a majority of power in most empires. Like, that's the reason why queens who held total rule and power or held power in their government was recorded and like talked about a lot because it was that rare. It was that rare. So to sit here and say, "Oh, women are the reason for most of the problems," is just wild.
It just doesn't sound like someone who's like women. I'm not gonna lie. Regardless of like him as a person, like him romantically, it just doesn't sound. I'm like, I can't like. If you have affection and you date these people, and you care about them, it's just the way you would always engage them because you want to be around them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be around women, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. You don't.
All right, y'all, we're back and we're gonna do fourth quarter. So for anyone who don't know sports, yes, fourth quarter is the last quarter of the game. Yeah, it's the last quarter of the game. We've kind of seen the game plan go into place, right? And now you're at the home stretch. So in this section, we're gonna share like data, resources, and different things for you. We'll have more in like the description, and we'll share a bunch of different things, whether it's books and resources,
and other content creators as well.
Right, for you to get in touch with. Exactly, because obviously you can give the information, but then where do people go from there, right? And what is the healthy place of that? I'm gonna share some statistics. And, I sound like Kevin Durant. I mean, not Kevin Garnett. What is Kevin Garnett said? What did he say? What was the word?
No.
What was the word? Oh, influential. Yo, that I can't. That Kevin Durant dude. Stay in school, kids. Anyway. So 1 in 4. 1 in 4 men report have no close friends. Men are 3 to 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women in the US. Studies have shown men who have strong social bonds live longer, perform better, and are less prone to radicalization. The self-improvement industry is worth over $13 billion, and men are increasingly becoming the target market. So now we're gonna go into post-game, right? We just went through all these different conversations, and we wanna tie everything together. If you don't know, post-game, after the game is done, usually kind of describe what happened in the game, what you can do going forward and how you learn from it. So we're gonna use this opportunity just to wrap everything up from what we just discussed. And who wants to go first with the post game?
I'm going first. I got some shit to share.
Okay.
All right.
Excuse me.
Pull up. This shit has got to stop. It does. I love women, and you know you do. This is not the way you behave. It really isn't. I can't stand this anymore. I'm being serious. I know it looks like I'm being hilarious, but how are you sensibly going to move forward? What is your goal? What do you want to do? How do you want to live your life? What kind of man do you want to be? Ask yourself that every day you wake up. And if you can't figure it out, tune in. I will help you. We will help you. Ask questions. Be vulnerable. I'm telling you, we will try our best. I'll do some research. Before you go and listen to Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, or any of these damn red pill guys, ask questions, bro. I promise, we ain't gonna blow up your spot, nothing, bro. Just try your best to be a good person every day. What progress have I made? I've become to be a friend to myself, and I've become and try my best to be a good person. Cut that shit out. That's all I can say. That's my question. That's my post game. Who's next?
All I got to say is you have to pay attention to who you're listening to.
Yes.
So a lot of these red pill men like listening to a man like Andrew Tate, a man who was pimping out 16-year-old girls, and yet you feel like that's the pinnacle of masculinity. You want to listen to a man like Nick Fuentes, who hates and despises women, yet wants to build a society where they're being controlled. Bro, this is the same man who clearly despises women, definitely gay, because there's no way you're not gay, hate being around women. That's crazy. Then you have two men like Fresh and Fit. One is stupid as hell. Then you have one who's wild. This man had a girlfriend and didn't please her sexually. This is also the same man that said you shouldn't be aspiring to sexually pleasing a woman. These are the men y'all want to listen to.
Because he can't.
These are the men y'all want to listen to. This is what you have to analyze. Yo, I'm listening to these people and none of their advice is working. Their advice is not going to work. Their advice will only either end up isolating you more or end up putting you in jail. For real. Because if you followed Andrew Tate's footsteps, you're going to jail just like him. And as a matter of fact, you're not beating the case. Like, he didn't even beat his case. He just escaped from it. You're not doing that. You're not. So you have to stop listening to these people. They're only going to lead you down a path of destruction. They're not going to help you. They're not going to help you get women, because women are human beings too, bro. Like, they have needs, wants, emotions, just the same as you. When you understand yourself as a human being and them, you begin to understand the world better.
Yeah. That's actually a Marcus Aurelius quote right there. Yeah, it was. You just said it. Literally, you said a Marcus Aurelius quote.
There we go.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
I see. And so what I want to close out with this is I want to relate it back to sports. And I think it's going to be very important if when you hear it like this, how you think about your life. So when you are, let's say, play football, because football is one of the more violent sports. Sometimes you get hurt, and what they do is they give you like painkillers, right? They give you like drugs or different things. The pain is not gone. It's still there. You just can't feel it. And what ends up happening is that you temporarily feel good, but it affects you long-term in your life. And you have to understand, when you listening to this content, it might feel good in the moment because of where you are in life, or where you are as a person, or where you are mentally. But the long-term damage you do for your health, it's never going to be worth it. And no amount of money, no amount of women, no amount of Instagram posts, followers is ever going to make you feel good on the inside. Because if you have not seen, look how many rich people are committing suicide. So money will never hide the true things that are going on the inside. And it takes some real work, like listen to our podcast, to solve some of these things. So on that note, I want to close out the Wellness Podcast and Playbook. Y'all have a great day.